Warm greetings, this is AED TV and I am Bridget Cementa, your show host. We are live at Vera University of Science and Technology and still on the issues of gender-based violence. We are still commemorating on the elimination of all forms of violence, still into the 16 Days of Activism, and as an institution, they've raised their voices, they've raised the visibility of the elimination of all forms of violence. And this brings us to different guests that we've been hosting, and today I am so privileged to have distinguished guests from two different categories or aspects of work. And on my right is Assistant Superintendent Mwakire Vera, and she is the Regional Child and Family Protection Officer of the Race Region Vera. You are highly welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Madam Bridget.
You're welcome. And then the other lady is Dr. Neema Murembe, and she is a senior lecturer in the Faculty of Peace at MUST, and she's heading the Department of Human Development and Relational Sciences. She is a social anthropologist and ethnographic researcher. All to mention by a few, she is a lecturer of gender and development, and she is focusing on anthropology and evolution. So these are the right people that are to talk about what we have been commemorating on, and that is GBV elimination. So starting on the issues of GBV, gender-based violence has been like a song. We've all talked about gender-based violence, but yes, does the public know the real aspect? What does gender-based violence mean, and how is it affecting the people? When did it start? What is the history, and why are these policies being formulated? To start with, Dr. Neema Murembe, maybe you could take us through gender-based violence and try to break it down from the history.
Yeah, thank you, Bridget. Thank you, ATTV, for this noble cause to discuss and understand issues of gender-based violence. To begin with, this is a cultural, a social, or a human stance. I'm not going to call it a sin, but it has been on earth since the time of Adam and Eve. And it is a global issue. It's a challenge globally, not only here in Uganda or in African countries, but then having seen that this vice is a global, a worldwide challenge, so many countries came together in historical perspectives to address these issues, because nobody would wish to see another human suffering physically, socially, economically, in all sorts of ways. As we have seen, gender-based violence can be understood as unfair treatment of another, being discriminated in just a mere reason of being the opposite of the other, in terms of sex, in terms of roles, in terms of relationship. So the first meeting to address these issues of how can we improve the relationship of people, specifically the treatment that exists between men and women. There was a meeting in Mexico focusing on improving the relationship between men and women. It didn't yield good results, I must say, as was planned. Another one took place in, this is now called the CEDAW Convention. Convention is bigger than a conference. Convention to eliminate all discriminations against women. While there are discriminations and injustices and unfair treatment against men, most of these were focusing on women, because the issue of eliminating women has gone beyond, over and above. So you will realize that most of these were focusing on the fair treatment of women. So the 1979 CEDAW meeting also had very many objectives, good ones, well-intentioned, but also the fair treatment they were looking for between men and women did not happen. Another one, 1985 in Nairobi, forward-looking, closer to our place here. Say, what do we do? All these meetings, I'm doing a summary, because these meetings would take like a week discussing issues. At the end of the day, all well-documented issues, way forward, would remain on paper, and the unfair treatment and life between men and women would remain. Finally, the Beijing conference, which took place in China. Most people read through this, but when these meetings were happening, some of us sent our contribution, because almost each country sent representatives. Still, because of differences in cultures, differences in nature, to say a man is a man, a woman is a woman, and these ascribed roles that a man should be treated like this, a woman should be treated like this. In our cultures, we have so many sayings. For instance, when a woman would be married, there was a saying that a man to say, "Gamba rimwe, ngambe kabiri," because I'm a man. Supposing a woman has so many beautiful ideas, you are to speak once, and a man to speak twice may mean so many other times. So finally, even that one did not work. Now, nationally, globally, they say, let each institution, since some of the implementations are caused by differences in cultures, there is overworking. A woman starts working by 6, by another 6, she's still working, taking overall domestic work that makes a family to be almost by herself. Sometimes there are men who support. Here we should not generalize that all men have become aloof. There are those who try a little bit. And when things don't come out the way they are expected, the woman is beaten seriously. Some women have been beaten to the level of being admitted in the hospital. And when a woman is suffering, the children are experiencing the same. That alone is not enough. Some women don't experience physical bullying or beating. Even when your decisions are not heard, you are not allowed to take any decision to the property, to the resources to which you contribute. It is another form of violence. When you cannot decide to which school your child should go to, which food should you cook, even when you have planted these food items, it is another form of violence. There is another form of violence. You go and work, accumulate money in a way of income generating activities, through agriculture, through business, but you cannot have any say on the outcomes of your income. Should you try, you are beaten to death. Then that's when you run to a funder's office, and then she will tell us a story. However, as a learning institution, there are also gender-based violence at our places of work. They may also not be physical bully, but it may also be there. There are, in institutions, there are positions of decision making. How many women are there? This is a violation of rights also. You know, in institutions, high positions are areas where pertinent decisions are made. But then if you're on the receiving end, and for you are a listener, you are a recipient, that is also another form of violence. If there is in an institution like MAST, we have a planning and budgeting policy. Is it listening to the gender interests and needs, or if it is just planning? I will tell you one example. If you are planning for an institution like this referral hospital, there are cases of antenatal where women will have to come to the hospital to deliver. But how many beds are there? Who makes this budget to say that we should have a maternity ward well-versed? If it is only 1 or 2 or 4, and they are budgeting to say we need 40 beds at the referral, how many of these are catering to the needs and interests of the women? That is another form of, you will go there, find the majority of the women are sleeping down. These are our mothers in the country. Research. Yes, mothers, lecturers, professors, there is a policy of recruitment, employment at all institutions in the country. You must qualify. You must have a certain level of education. But sometimes women are held behind by some other activity. And the policies from national, from global to institutional say in gender mainstreaming there is this word called affirmative action. Something should be done intentionally to uplift these people so that we come to an equitable position. I must say at Mbarara University, the policies are there, very well written, very well documented. The objective, the strategy to be done, but I will clearly say that they are on shelves. The affirmative action to improve this kind of situation are shelved. It seems nothing is being done to improve that kind of situation. At our community level, there are rules that guide. Should there be fighting, separation, how homes should be run, how men should be treated, how women should be treated. But it appears some of those rules and laws are well written and life continues as normal as it is, as culturally as it was. But although there are some kind of improvement, because of fear, there is a rule which says no fighting. If you are taken to the police or to the court and they listen into the situation of the conflicting couple or spouse or workmates, then the rule will take over. Will take over the cultural norm. But still, those things have continued from historical perspective to the current times. So these 16 days of activism are a reawakening of what should be done, these guidelines and the policies.
Okay, thank you so much. So, Doctor, you spoke about the cultural norms. Should we take these cultural norms that have been existing as the normal norms, or they are the ones generating or causing the recurring of these GBV cases?
If I understood your question very well, yeah. the norms yeah. and the values, yeah. You know, each society, each culture has its norms. You know, there is like beating a woman is taken like a normal. It's okay. This is one way of keeping order in the home. And the policies, the national laws and rules say no fighting. A woman is a human being. But while the law of the country, like the constitution, should take overall over the cultural norms, it appears the cultural norms have remained in the system covering the constitutional, the guiding laws. So you are only reminded that this is not acceptable countrywide in our Uganda. But in your heart, it is like you are saying, but in my culture, this is normal. What crime have I done? And actually, if you take this case to the elders, they will tell you, these women who have now started using the laws, it is not going to make a family, nor is it going to make it is not going to change you from a woman into a man. As if women, when they are saying, please, treat us justifiably and well. We are not fighting to be men. We are only struggling to have equal and fair treatment. Nobody would wish to be beaten. And actually the norm are not saying you beat your wife. No norm says that. But since the society make their own systems of managing, that's where fighting, beating wife, beating children comes in. And then the society seems to condone, say, yeah, but this is not a very big issue. You relax and life continues. But you cannot relax and continue living a miserable, mistreatable life.
All right. Thank you so much, Doctor. So in this case of GBV, we always have the perpetrator, we have the victim. So this goes to the Assistant Superintendent Mwakire, Vera. I know as police, you've had very many people reporting to you, and these are recurring challenges, the same issues day after day. You are receiving the same challenges. So I would like to know how the police deals with the victims and the perpetrators. How do you deal with them?
Thank you so much, Madam Moderator. Very happy to be here, to be with my lecturer at time T. Yes, at time T she was my lecturer.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
I'm happy that I'm still with her at the moment. To come to the point, she has tried to give us the background of violence. Police came in, all these different organizations that do come in to intervene in cases of violence. Why do they come in the foremost? Remember, as she said, culture is still driving us. Those days, a woman was speechless. One, to the extent that when she gets married, she doesn't have where she belongs. When a man feels, I'm tired of you, he would simply say, out of my house, go. This is a woman who has already produced children. They are behind her following. It becomes unfortunate again when she reaches home. Brothers are saying, why are you here? I getting? So she's now in between. Now the meetings, the conventions, the national guidelines had to come in to see this lady positioned in one place, such that in case of any misunderstanding, where does she belong? Because I believe, all you people, you will believe me, that this is a situation, though she did not call it a sin, this is a situation that we've lived in with, and we are going to live with it, and it has to stay. We shall not say that violence, because violence, it has very, very many forms. Why am I saying that it has to stay? One, to begin with, when a man and a woman come together, they have come together for a purpose. That is, the core point part of it is sex. And at the end of the day, we shall have sexual violence after one of them denies the other one the conjugal rights. It becomes sexual violence. We have what she tried to explain, the economical violence, where now the riches of the home, the properties of the home become an issue. Then, as we are talking of economic, we have now the social, psychosocial violence, where someone is not beating, is giving you food, but psychologically you are being tortured. You are not listened to. She talked of Gambali Ngambe. Psychologically you are tortured. As we move on, we have the other one, the emotional one, the physical one. Now beating comes in. Those are the forms of violence. Remember, when by the time beatings come in, it means there are some things you've been suffering inside your home without even people knowing. And even to make things worse, even if people know, she talked of cultures, they will say, no, it is okay. This is a minor issue. Don't leave your children. But to make things worse again, after producing children there, you die because the children are where they want mommy. And you're asking yourself, even if I leave, where are my children? going to stay. So it becomes a culture, it becomes a problem, it becomes a sin that we are going to stay with. And as we are going to stay with this thing, of course, nationally, globally, sensed danger. That these are the issues that have stayed in cultures, these are the issues that have stayed in families. How can we come in and mediate? Different acts, different writings now we are implemented. We as police, we are basically there to implement all the conventions she has talked about, to implement all the acts she talked about, to see that at least are they being implemented. And if they are being implemented, how are we putting them in place? And to make even things better, police is a leading agent to see that these acts are known to people. Is our public or the people we are staying with, are they informed of these acts? Are they informed of their rights? Do they know which kind of life are they supposed to live? She talked of emancipation, where gender balance should be at each and every stage. But is it, or are we informed that we women, we are supposed also to be part of the decision making, or we are busy in our kitchens there behind, preparing children, planning to have very many children, how have they eaten? These are the issues now. We are not all that informed that we have our rights there at each and every stage, be it in political, be it at an employment. But now when the police comes in, it becomes a leading agent to see that people are informed. How are we leading? I think you are very much aware that police came in with a policy by the names of community policing, where we go in public sensitizing people, because we are not after apprehending perpetrators only, but before we apprehend the perpetrators, we need to know, have they known what they are supposed to do? Because some, or the majority, commit these cases of violence out of their ignorance. They commit these cases of violence because of the culture background, the settings where they grew from. If you grew with a father beating the mother, it becomes a norm and a culture and a responsibility plus a game that a woman should be beaten. When you grew up in a family where a girl child does not go to school, you go by that. So police is trying and endeavoring to see that all these conventions, all these acts are known to our people, sensitizing them. After sensitizing them, you come and you implement, because you will not implement something which people don't know. As you know the effects and where you've come from, now you are trying to plan. Should I also remain the same? No or yes? Or that we come to universities, we come to secondary schools to make sure that they have their rights as far as GBV cases are concerned. For example, when she talked of policies in case of any violence in the university. But as police, we are receiving some students. Some come under camera. They even tell you the university is not yet aware, but I would like to be helped. And in institutions, we've come to realize that violence is even is among ladies, a female against a fellow female. Recently, personally, was having these Somali students. One of them, they were in their own room and veiled herself, took a pic, a selfie. You cannot tell her a roommate accessed her pic. Now the other roommate started saturating it. It was unfortunate that back in their culture, they are not supposed to see a lady who is not veiled. True. She was like, the moment they see this photo, my father himself will not continue paying this school fees. Already that is violence back home. I getting? Even if she feels like uncovering herself, but she will cover herself on condition that she wants what? School fees. When it comes back here, she's psychologically tortured. Her peak being in public, yet the other side is what? Is not allowed. Now, the other one, possibly as she was saturating it, you cannot imagine it was in a good heart or was by accidental. I get it. I get it. So now that is violence, ladies against ladies. And by the way, to make even things worse, when you talk of violence, people immediately think of perpetrators being men. And being men, and they immediately think of beating. That is violence. But I've already told you that violence is in very many forms. Where even ladies from the university, you find them fighting over relationships. That is also violence. And remember, as you realize, or as you try to come in, you realize that these young ones, the violence they are going through is even worse than us mature people. Because to some extent, when someone gets violence, or if I get, I'll go to madam and we share. But this one, they even don't share. The heart of sharing. So what am I trying to mean? Even in the university, even in these young ones, the secondary schools, violence is there. Whichever form, as I mentioned, there are very many forms. So as police, we are coming in to see that both the perpetrator and the victim receive justice. One, by looking at the issue objectively and advise them. Actually, police, we don't advise, we simply guide. Out of the guidance we've given you, or the advice I may say we've given you, make a decision out of it. But you as a couple or as a group, if you fail to make a decision, of course now referrals come in. How do we refer? Of course, violence cases, especially, we refer those violence cases that come in the form of criminality. What do I mean? You talked of GBVs. If I'm to look at the GBVs, we have the defilement. We have rape itself.
So I want you to also take us through how the law is against these different forms of violence, so that if at all it happens, before someone attempts to commit himself to a certain gender-based violence act, they should be knowing what are the consequences of the law and which law is against this. And in any case, you can also share with us some of the policies that, apart from the other community-based policies that you have told us about, other policies that are within the police setting, so that someone can be aware of this is the consequence of this.
Thank you so much once again. Of course, the law is very clear. That's why, as I was talking, I talked of referrals. The community-based is now failing. We have the courts. Of course, the courts are basing themselves on different acts. One, we have the Domestic Violence Act of 2010 that clearly states what a family is. That clearly states who should be or who qualifies to be in that family. So in the case of any case relating to violence, the law is very clear and it has different punishments. For example, as the case is taken to court automatically from police after investigating that rape really happened, or it was not, it did happen, but it was about, or maybe it is kind of indecent assault, but not the real act. There are different punishments. All those punishments are clearly stated in our penal code. The Constitution is very clear. Someone should be punished after committing the offense. Now the punishments are very clear stated in our penal code. Of course, I cannot tell you that cases have similar punishments. Punishments are different depending which case committed. For example, a punishment of defilement cannot be the same punishment to assault. Or if you have even this assault, the assault has different levels. Where you beat someone, gets a wound, then the other one, the ear is off. The other one, you find we have actually a girl recently who is claiming that the father, she was trying to misbehave maybe, so the father out of anger got a stick and started beating. In the process of beating, the spinal cord was affected. I get it. So I cannot really tell you that it can be the same punishment. They are clearly stated in the penal code. Then as police, of course, our primary role is to investigate these cases, because you cannot take a case to court before it is investigated. If we investigate it poorly, it is a dead case. But if we really put all the ingredients of the case, the perpetrator is punished. Only that what I even want to put on air is that when we talk of perpetrators, let us not look at men. There are women, by the way, who are battering their husbands. But it is very unfortunate that men do not come up to report. Why are they not coming up? Culture. How will I really go to police that my woman is beating me? And by the way, to some extent they are right. Because when you happen to get a client of a man trying to mention such cases against him, even the people surrounding there, you will hear them laughing. A man being beaten.
What about you? If you were to listen to that case, you are a woman. What is your take?
Now my take, because I've been in it, I know what it means. But I believe in those days, I would also say, can a man be beaten? Are you getting? Back to culture. I get back to culture. So really, as we are analyzing in these 16 days of activism, let us encourage men to also come up. I remember as we are talking, when we talk of violence and more so to young children, we only focus to young girls. Like now, even we mothers, when you are to visit our homes, all our eyes are on our girls. Where are they? Where has Trust gone? Where has Jenny gone? But you will not ask for James. Why? He's a man. Culture. He's a boy. Because when he's outside there, you are safe. He will not come pregnant. But he will pregnant someone's daughter who will also be in pain. I get it. So we need also these 16 days of activism to focus on our boys. Actually, why we are having violence, Madam will also add on his research.
She will be sharing how to bridge that gap.
Why we are having violence, as acts and conventions and meetings came in, all eyes were women, all eyes were girls or girl child. Yes. So we managed to mentor them. But after mentoring them, they are meeting Nyangarakata men out there who are not mentored.
Yes.
That is violence. Because a woman, you told your girl, kind of when a man comes, prepare submissiveness as the Bible says, but now will you be submissive?
Forever.
Forever. And a man who is not loving, a man who does not know that really a woman deserves some kind of respect at home, will you? The other things will turn around.
Right.
I had wanted you to help us understand You said a case may die if there is no serious or clear research that was conducted, investigation, as your language will dictate. But you very well know, again, in our culture, there are some issues which we cannot say whatever circumstance. Specifically issues of defilement. You know, you have to clearly say what happened. And there is this person who will be asking, can you tell us how the story began? And then after addressing,
what
you
happened?
are already getting scared of the situation.
What happened?
What happened? What happened? And then a person is likely to kill the evidence in the name of what we are supposed to say and what we are not supposed to say. How are you in your investigations to bring out the truth? How are you considering these cultural issues without killing the evidence? Traditionally, people would say, from what is transpiring, this could have happened. The police wants real evidence to be seen, to be written out. And there is this checking. And you know what goes on, the procedures that are followed are really clashing or contradicting what we are supposed to do. There are do's and don'ts. And this is how most cases, when you really see you are in a wastage of time, however much you have tried, because of that clash, we are still having challenges. How are we going to reconcile and bridge this gap to make sure we don't kill the truth which we may see or suspect? I know police does not work on suspicion, but this is who we are. How are we going to handle this?
Thank you so much, Madam. I want to say this confidently, that such a cases don't die because of failing to reveal. One, the Uganda Police Force has created different departments, particularly to handle such a cases. That's why we are having right now Child and Family Protection. I'm not saying that office is only having women, but we are very much aware there are issues women cannot share to men. I get it. Because that department itself has trained us, the officers in that department, to really always be in shoes of the other people coming. A woman is coming to you crying. He's telling you he was raped, possibly by the husband. But you openly say, how can your husband rape you? But the truth is, husbands do rape
wives.
Because the moment she doesn't consent, she has been raped. Then when you talked of a case of defilement will not die from police. But what will kill it is culture. Defilement in now child and family, then we have what we call that gender desk, the GBV desk, where we have ladies trained to investigate, trained to know what are the requirements in case a case of defilement is to stand. They are there, well trained and knowing what to do. But at times, what kills those cases of defilement and of domestic violence? If I'm to begin with my office, you'll get a couple, try to sit with them, and in the process of sitting, mediating, and making them reconcile, you sense some danger, you sense some fears. You do what you are supposed to. That is investigating, putting things in writing, ready to take them to court. You even put your endeavors to see the file sanctioned or goes to whichever office is supposed to go. But by the time they are going to court, this is a woman who will be compromised by culture.
And also we fear court. Afande.
No, before we fear court, culture.
Okay, as you
Do you know why we fear culture?
go for a short
First-
break and come back. Let's go for a short break.
You're watching AYIT TV, empowering you.
Good morning. Barara University of Science and Technology welcomes you to yet another time of the year when we are celebrating the 16 days of activism. This has just started today on the 25th of November 2022 and it will be ending on the 10th of December 2022 on the International Day for the Human Rights Day. Why are we celebrating this? We are joining the globe, and it is an annual celebration that we join the globe to always celebrate the elimination of violence against women and girls. Gender-based violence has been a profound phenomenon that is becoming a pandemic all over. It is becoming an endemic. It's just spreading like a wildfire, whereby it can be your mother, your daughter, your sister who is the victim of this violence. The Office of the Dean of Students at Mass, in partnership with AYIT TV Empowering You, say that we can end gender-based violence. Do not keep silent. Let's join the globe and end violence.
All right, welcome back from that short break. We are still on AYIT TV Empowering You, and my name is Bridget Cementa. Thank you so much for those who have been with us on the whole journey of these 16 days of activism activities. So still here with the great ladies, that is Dr. Murembe and Assistant Superintendent Mwakire
Police.
of Police, Mwakire Vera. So in the short break, guys, I couldn't hold the laughter because these two ladies really made me laugh. We were discussing violence, but the way they were all bringing it up, it couldn't leave me without laughing. So, still on the issues of violence, I want us to bring it back to the university level, to bring it back to must level. Let us bring it, because it is must and the community. The Rizi region is also next to this, to our institution. So we are going to discuss it in regards to our institution. This goes to Dr. Murembe. I would like you to take us through the university policies. We know that we always say that justice delayed is justice denied. Why do you think that some of the students rush to the police immediately, even before they run to you? Couldn't you be having any policies that could keep them here and you solve their cases?
Yeah, thank you so much. That is a sensitive area, but I believe since we are here for the good of our institution,
Yes.
I'm going to call a spade a spade.
Okay.
Not justice denied. There are so many policies that were designed here, close to 20, and I'm not going to go through those because personally I participated in designing this gender policy, and it talks about such things. Even sexual harassment would be part of this, and we said at the end of it, the recommendation, having designed our objectives, strategies, and actions that are to be done. Each objective has like 3 strategies to achieve that. And finally, we suggested that let there be a gender desk with a committee of members from the different faculties, such that each faculty is represented and the communication is given, and the roles of the committee were designed, about 14 of them, some of which summarized here are: should there be an issue between a staff, the 2 staffs, or the student and the staff, or the 2 students, they report to first of all to the representative of the committee in each faculty. For instance, from FIS, we are meant to have a representative who should be the first person to hear this. Then to the committee. Then the committee to, if it is a disciplinary case, if it like that. But as a gap, and as I talk, that committee is not in place.
The gender policy.
In the gender policy, we suggested a committee to handle those. So that could be some of the problems that, where do I go? Let me go to the police.
Okay.
So the committee that was suggested, it is on page 8 with 14 procedures and way forward. The committee is not in place except if it was formed and fees is not represented, which I don't think. So should there be a problem in fees? I don't expect now a person, now I assume that the committee is there and fees is not represented. Or if it is there, it has never met. Such a dead functions can also be a problem. And if you see that there are challenges, then you must run to the police.
What were the major areas of specialization according to the gender policy?
Which the issues?
The areas which you are targeting.
Yeah, you know, there are in cases of, there is when you hear marks for sex. And those things are common in institutions. I'm not very sure whether they are very common here, but I'm sure they exist. So, should there be such an issue, what should the students do? If you do your work, you attend, you have never missed, your results are missing, the lecturer tells you, I told you certain things which you have never fulfilled.
So suffer.
So suffer silently. So the issues in here are meant to address such issues. Or also, and there are students who also harass the lecturers. How? In the dress code, the way they sit in the lecture, and making the lecturer very uncomfortable. They can even post some messages in the assignments handed in. We on one-on-one in the faculty, some lecturers have brought such girls to my office.
So how would they handle these issues?
So they got police direct.
Yeah, that's where we would call the student or the lecturer who reports. You know, the reporting now starts at faculty level. Then we go to the gender desk. Then we go to the university solving these issues. But we have never got any case reported. Things which come in whisper at faculty level,
You solve.
we are not sure we solve. they end there. Probably that's why now they run to the police. But I've not yet gotten it clearly whether the police has solved the university challenges.
Actually, even the police, I think most of the friends maybe that have reported to me before, when you go to the police, they also ask you, have you reported to the university? And then the whole story now
returns.
Yeah, the story comes back. And also attention is not given to you while you go, so it all stays there.
Can I say something on that?
Yes.
Surely that is not true. As long as a case reported, I don't think that question, have you reported it to the university? Because in most cases, when such cases come and they are criminal in nature, we don't need to involve any other stakeholder.
Yeah, but now in this case, they may be not criminal.
Yeah. When it is criminal in nature, we don't. But when they are possibly social in nature, we try our level best. I've given an example of the other two Somalis. We resolved. And the other one ended up putting something in writing.
Apology.
Such that the apology, such that in case the peak reaches the other side of their origin and the questions are up, she also gives up the apology.
Say, but I was actually undressed, but he apologized. Does that save the situation?
To some extent, they will understand. Then we have even, actually, it is very unfortunate that this policy is not working. That's why police is receiving cases. I remember, if it is not this year, last year, we had a case, a student against a lecturer, a serious one, where the student, I think because of maybe some conversations and what, was trying to target the lecturer, either to harm him or to do something. Regional CID entertained. I remember that time we had LPC by the names of ACP came in, they resolved the issue, but it was hot. So whichever case comes, police handles the way it has come. But we cannot bounce back. And it becomes worse when it comes to students, campuses. When you try to give it a deaf ear, you are creating
another problem.
Because you try to say, okay, you are mature people, want to solve your problems. But you don't know how they are going to solve them.
No, you can't say that. Even here, if they dare to reach us on individual but what I'm saying, the desk is not functional, and there are policies to pull up fill the gaps. And this is where, the purpose of an institution is to teach, carry out research, and disseminate. In most cases, most of these grants or the research are won, in most cases, by men. If you check in this, the percentage of those that are won by women and those won by men, the comparative ratios is still male skewed. Why is this so? As we began talking, we noticed that women are still engaged in the backyard area of the kitchen. There is time of pregnancy. There is most of this writing after work, for instance. People will now say, now this one also talks of pregnancy. Are you pregnant all the time? But most of the time, if you are not pregnant, you are breastfeeding. If you are not breastfeeding,
in the hospital,
you are in our culture, when a family has a patient, it is like an obligation of a woman. If you are been working, office work, now at night you want to concentrate on your research or your proposal, then you are told, there is a visit at home. What type of a visitor? Your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, your in-laws, even your own mom. You know how we like our people. Now you say, hey, my mom has come. Maybe tomorrow you will add, my mother-in-law, that one also.
Okay.
Then you walk home. By the time you come back, the mind has already switched. The other man is concentrating. So while we don't blame the university for being one-sided, but that's where we ascertained the affirmative action to say, how do we uplift these women? Maybe even when they are uplifted, they may not do the substantive required work. The nature of who women, mothers are, so that is the situation still at the university level.
Okay, Dr. Neema, we are running out of time, so we have to wind up. As the producer is telling me we are out of time. But I would like you to tell us more as you conclude in your last remarks. You tell us what you think that the university should do to make sure that this, the gender policy, the sexual harassment policy, and all the other policies, especially the one to deal with the people with disabilities and the ones with HIV, AIDS, all those different policies within the university that really fall under gender. What should the university do to make sure that they are in operation, that they are working?
First of all, we suggested sensitization. If everybody and the top management is in it, creation of this desk does not take long. Even that desk in one corner, we don't need a new building. We don't need even the stationery that we have can always run such cases. So that the population here, students, staff are aware that on Thursday or 3 days a week in the academic registrar's building, that's where the gender desk is located. And who is there? Representative from FIS is so and so, representative from medical school, faculty of science. These are the people that are there. They have the secretariat. When you go there, you will find them. When you are, then the sensitization. We said, of course, all these policies are on website. But if you are to ask people, I don't know whether statistically you can know how many times these policies are open, who has read them, who has mastered them, and so on. So we need to do all this. We need to have seminars and workshops to begin with. Then the student, we had said each student that arrives at MUST will have a copy of the policy. But we don't have enough. We normally tell them,
go on the website.
Check on from the website. Some of these students come when they cannot access. Although we say they have phones, they have everything. So if we can print these hard copies, as we print the rules, I'm very much aware that students may not be reading these rules, but let it be part of the system and the game. So that, and during orientation, which I usually attend, at least for our faculty, we should bring these copies and tell them, should this happen, should that happen, and so on. And insist on the dress code. For heaven's sake, you meet a girl, someone's daughter, in the campus here.
Change from home. She leaves home when she's okay. Reaching here, she changes drastically.
Sometimes they even leave home. I ever called a girl who was brought to me by a man. If these things of sensitization meetings can be done, we shall have a difference to utilize these well-intended and written policies that exist on the website will be known and utilized for the good of our institution.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Neema. It's been interesting. And in our final remarks with ASP Mwakire.
Thank you so much, Mukuru Moderator. As I'm winding,
do not forget to tell us how we shall deal with the barriers that limit people from reporting to the police.
Also the barriers, if I'm to talk about the barriers, we need to tell people, we need to tell the university students to do away with our culture, which is not possible, but we shall encourage them to at least regulate.
She's a student of anthropology.
Deliver the message. I get it. Deliver the message, encourage them, both girls and boys, both men and women, to always come up in cases of violence, because there are cases. Actually, if there is a disease that does not heal, it is a disease of violence in your home or in your heart. You cannot cure it. So encourage them, tell them to always be open, even if the police is not yet having a desk, but approaching Madam, they can at least solve. As I conclude, I must appreciate the university is trying to a certain extent. For example, I'm very much informed, though I must apologize, I've never been part of them, but all freshers, that is every year, police is always here to orient them. Am I talking lies? No. We are always here. That is regional community liaisons officer, and to some extent with RPCs and other departments. I remember last year, I was invited here to talk over the same. By now, inviting me and other stakeholders and the regional community liaisons officer coming here, it means that the university is aware that there are some cases of violence or there are some criminal cases that might come up. So that's why we are always on board to at least put them in a know under the name of sensitization, community policing, to make our students campus safely and leave the campus safely. So I must appreciate you people to have invited me to be part of this day among the days of the 16 days of activism. Let us join hands, fight violence, kick away violence from our homes for God and my country.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It is Mwakire, Vera, and Dr. Neema for coming live to AET and coming to share the ideas, the different ideas about the policies around and how to eliminate violence against women, girls, children,
and
the
men.
staff, the men, everyone, because this is an issue that concerns everyone. It is no longer just a women's issue, but it is a global concern and for all gender. So thank you so much. I remain Bridget in Cementa, and we are still into the activities of the 16 days of activism. Keep watch always on AET TV.